Kunjabi Hari Kunjabi Hari Gopi Janabalaba Gopi Janabalaba Gaurangita Jaya Gaurangita
Jaya Nimanita Jaya Nimanita Jaya Nimanita Jaya Nimanita Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the most glorious lotus feet of Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jaya Mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, and it's text number 34 today. Should be on the board. Brahmanai Shatra Bandurhi.
Brahmanai Shatra Bandurhi.
Griha Palo Nirupitaha.
Griha Palo Nirupitaha.
Sakritam Tagrihe Dwastaha.
Sakritam Tagrihe Dwastaha.
Bandam Bhoktamohati.
Sabandam Bhoktamohati.
Ramanai Shatra Bandurhi.
Brahmanai Shatra Bandurhi.
Griha Palo Nirupita.
Griha Palo Nirupita.
Sakritam Tagrihe Dwasta.
Sakritam Tagrihe Dwasta.
Sabandam Bhoktam Ohati.
Sabandam Bhoktam Ohati.
Brahmanai Shatra Bandurhi.
Brahmanai Shatra Bandurhi.
Griha Palo Nirupita.
Griha Palo Nirupita.
Sakritam Tagrihe dvasta
Sakatam tadgrihe dvasta
sabandam bhoktamohati
Sabandam bhoktamarhati
Brahmanai Shatra Bandorhi
Brahmanai Shatra Bandorhi
Vihapalo Nirupita
Vihapalo Nirupita
Sakatam Takrihe Tvasta
Sakatam tadgrihe dvasta
Sabandam Bhoktam Arhati
Sabandam bhoktamarhati
Brahmana Kshatra Bandurhi
Brahmana Shatra Bandurhi
Grihapalo Nuripitaha
Vihapalo nirupitaha
Sakatam Tad Grihe Dvasta
Sakatam tadgrihe dvasta
Sabandam Bhoktumarhati
Sabandam bhoktamarhati
Brahmanaya Shatrabandhurhi
Brahmana Shatra Bandurhi
Grihapalo Nuripitaha
Grihapalo nirupitaha
Sakatam Tadgrihe Dvasta
Sakatam tadgrihe dvasta
Sabhandam Bhoktum Arhati
Sabandam bhoktamarhati
Brahmanaya Shatra Bandhurhi
Brahmana Shatra Bandurhi
Grihapalo Nuripitaha
Grihapalo Nirupitaha
Sakatam Tagrihe Dvastha
Sakatam tadgrihe dvasta
Sabhandam Bhoktamarhati
Sabandam bhoktamarhati
Brahmanya Kshetra Bandurhi
Brahmana Shatra Bandurhi
Narapalo Nurpita
Grihapalo Nirupitaha
Kantam Tadgre Dvasta
Sakatam tadgrihe dvasta
Bandam Bhoktamarhati
Sabandam bhoktamarhati
Brahmanaya Satrabandurhi
Brahmana Shatra Bandurhi
Vihapalo Niripitaha
Grihapalo Nirupitaha
Sakatam Tadgrihe Svasta
Sakatam tadgrihe dvasta
Sabhandam Bhoktum Arhati
Sabandam bhoktamarhati. Anyone else? Okay, word for word. Brahmana. By the Brahminical order. Shatra Bandhui.
Shatra Bandhurhi
The sons of the Kshatriyas.
The sons of the Kshatriyas
He certainly. Grihapalaha. The watchdog.
watchdog
Nirupita. Designated. Saha. He. Katam. On what ground?
On what grounds?
Tagrihe.
Tagrihe
And the home of him.
In the home of him,
The master.
the Master.
Dvastaha.
Vasaha
Keeping at the door.
Keeping at the door
Sabandam.
Sabandam
In the same pot.
in the same pot
Bhoktam.
Bhoktam
To eat.
To eat
Ahati.
Arhati
Deserves.
deserves.
Translation: the descendants of the kingly orders are definitely designated as watchdogs, and they must keep themselves at the door. On what grounds can daughters enter the house and claim to dine with the master on the same plate? And please repeat. The descendants of the kingly orders
The descendants of the kingly orders
are definitely designated
Are definitely designated
as watchdogs.
as watchdogs.
They must keep themselves at the door
They must keep themselves at the door.
On what grounds
On what grounds
can dogs enter the house
can dogs enter the house
and claim to dine
and claim to dine
with the master
with the master
on the same plate?
on the same plate?
So for the sake of our audience who hasn't been here, this is the chapter whereby Parikshit Maharaj is cursed by a Brahmana boy, and he has already saved the Kali, the bull, from Kali, but Kali surrendered to him, and he gave Kali some places to stay in the world. And Kali is attacking this Brahmana boy, who is very powerful, but he's just a boy, and he's not yet really cultured. So his father was sitting in trance by the will of Providence. A great stalwart, powerful Kshatriya like Parikshit became extremely thirsty and hungry while chasing some deer in the forest, and came across the hermitage of Samika Muni. And he just wanted some water, and he just entered his home. The door was open, it wasn't closed, anything. The Muni's sitting in meditation, and he asked him for some water, but the Muni ignored him. And Parikshit, driven by his frame of mind, which was extremely thirsty and hungry, became quite annoyed, and so he just angrily left, and on the way out he found this dead snake. And so he tit for tat, which was unprecedented for him. He wasn't that type of person, but tit for tat, this Muni has ignored me, so let me give him a gall and deserving of his behavior. And so he's the king of the emperor of the entire state, so he takes the garland of the snake and puts it around the Muni's neck and goes home and begins to immediately think about this. Was he in trance? Was he not in trance? He began to doubt what he had done. And in the meantime, the Brahmin's son overhears the other boys talking about what has happened to Samika Muni, who was not really disturbed by the thing, but the son became disturbed. And here he is speaking now about the king. So, Srila Prabhupada's purport. The inexperienced Brahmana boy certainly knew that the king asked for water from his father, and the father did not respond. He tried to explain away his father's inhospitality, in an impertinent manner befitting an uncultured boy. He was not at all sorry for the king's being not well received, for the king's not being well received. On the contrary, he justified the wrong act in a way characteristic of the Brahmanas of Kali Yuga. He compared the king to a watchdog, and so it was wrong for the king to enter the house of a Brahmana and ask for water from the same pot. The dog is certainly reared by its master, but that does not mean that the dog shall claim to dine and drink from the same pot. The mentality, this mentality of false prestige is the cause of downfall of the perfect social order. And we can see that in the beginning it was started by the inexperienced son of a Brahmana. The dog is never allowed to enter within the room in hearth, although it is reared by the master. Similarly, according to Shringi, the king had no right to enter the house of Samika Rishi. According to the boy's opinion, the king was on the wrong side and not his father, and thus he justified the son father. Thus ends the Bhagavatam purport to the 34th sloka of the 18th chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, who has opened my eyes, although they were shut by darkness. Om Aganati Miranda Shyamananjana Shlakayata Shrimanitana Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. When will Rupa Goswami, who has established within this world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet. So this is a really, really pertinent verse for all of us, because this is just a common phenomenon in this world today. It goes on all the time. You know, someone has wronged us in some way, and instead of looking at our faults, we look at that person's faults. And worse than that, instead of attacking what they have specifically done, or what their idea is, this is what goes on. This is what Shringi has done. He uses an ad hominem argument. That means he personally attacks the character of the person, not even he doesn't even make a case against what he did. He picked up a dead snake and he put it around a Muni in trance. That wasn't his argument. My father was in trance. He wasn't aware of the king being there. The king insulted my father by putting a dead snake around his neck. How uncultured is this, so-called Rajarshi? That was his argument. But instead he overlooks that and he attacks the king personally to the level of calling the person who is protecting the entire society. There's no crime in the kingdom. I mean, just look at the world today. There's crime everywhere. No one can be safe at any moment, practically speaking. There's so much crime. Women are unprotected. Children are unprotected. Brahmanas are laughed at for being, ignorant. They're not scientifically cultured. Old people can be ripped off at any time because they're easy prey. So that's what society is like. But when you have a ruler, a governor, a king, a person in charge, a leader of the qualifications of cricket, no crime can be there. That's the type of person he was. That's the type of king he was. And, he respected, everyone in society. This was his, normal etiquette. And he was a great devotee, to the extent that he had perceived the super soul while in the womb. Everybody knew these stories. I mean, these were like the stories of the time. They had just happened in the previous generation. Instead, this boy demonizes him. That's what goes on. That's what goes on in our political realm all the time. They're just demons. We just label the person something. We designate him something. Oh, this person is unfit to be in that position. We just, throw a label on him like Shringi is doing. He's a watchdog. He's a dog. He's calling the king no better than a dog. And he gives a very logical argument. Can a dog come in and eat off your plate? Even in the world today, hardly anyone would let a dog eat off of the plate they eat off of. The dog has a separate bowl. That's the dog's bowl. You go to the store and they sell the dog's bowls where they sell the dog food. They don't have it where the people, human beings, go and buy their plates. So that's Shringi's argument. He's no better than a dog. And yet he wants to come into the house of a Brahmana and drink water from the same pot? Can a dog come in and eat the food off of my plate? It's ridiculous. So in the next verses, we're going to see that the guy starts to try to take Krishna's place. Oh, Krishna has left the world. Everybody knew Krishna had just left the world. So there's no one here to do anything about this. So I'm going to do something about it. Oh, he's Mr. Courageous now. He's going to stand up and, take over the king's job, practically speaking. He's going to chastise the king. He's going to replace Krishna. I'm going to show you my power. And the thing is, he has the power. His father's a great rishi. He's born in a great rishi's family. And he's coming, into that position due to his previous activities. So he's endowed with a lot of Shakti, a lot of power. But he's completely inexperienced boy. And instead of remaining humble, he tries to assume the role of an adult and creates great misfortune in the world. That was destined because eventually Kali had to enter, so Providence, made this arrangement, but utilized the arrangement so that we, 5,000 years later, a long time later, could take advantage of all this in a completely different language that wasn't even spoken then, so that we could take advantage and understand basic things like right from wrong, what to speak of very high things like where everything has come from, and who that person is, and what that person has done while here, and what he does when he's back home. We could hear all these things in this beautiful book that will be the result of Pritchard's being cursed. So Providence, had its play in mind. It's what it wanted to happen in the course of time. But the way it's going on is that Kali has gotten to some boy, inexperienced boy, who is too puffed up. As a Brahmin, he should be gentle and humble. He should think, oh, what has my dad done wrong? Why would the king have done this? I can't believe it was so unfortunate. My dad was in so much trance that he couldn't host the king properly. This is a great disgrace. Someone has come to our house and we couldn't even give him any water. I feel so bad for my father. He's going to be very upset when he, realizes what happened. He didn't think like that at all. A Brahmin, Krishna says, I think it's when he visited Matila, he was speaking about Brahmins, or maybe another time. But a Brahmin should be gentle. Brahmin has a lot of power. Brahmin has a lot of knowledge. He has power because he has knowledge. Brahmin has a brain meant for education. Whereas a Kshatriya, he has a brain meant for arguing the facts. and being able to defeat fallacious arguments. You know, he can be a really good judge, or statesman, or prosecutor, or defense attorney. And when it comes down to it, you know, he's a very powerful warrior, not a Brahmana. You know, Brahmana may curse and do some, you know, powerful mantras, you know, to, you know, protect himself, or even to kill a king who is evil, like, you know, that king that Prithu, King Vandana, the Brahmins killed him because he was so uncultured, and yet he was the king and just destroying society. So they killed him and, you know, made a new king. So that goes on all the time in kingly society. Kings are always getting replaced, especially in Kali Yuga. You go through one king after another. Still, you know, this boy, he was puffed up. So Krishna says, a Brahmin who is not gentle, but on the other hand is puffed up, it's just like a snake that has a really fancy jewel on its head. You know, you may become attracted to that jewel, and boy, look at that. Hey, it looks really far out, glorious. Look at the colors, and wow. It's like a non-sage, you know? But you go to touch that snake, and you're bitten. So, you know, a Brahmin who is, you know, puffed up is like that, because then they'll destroy you. They'll take all their ability to articulate a nice argument, and, you know, with the power of their speech, they'll just demonize you, and everybody will just think you're despicable. You know, they won't even vote for you because you don't even deserve to be there. You know, it's the candidate that so-and-so supports is, you know, the good one. They never consider that, you know, this person has a contingency of people who support them, and they all have the same argument needs. And so, you know, that's why they want that person to win. So they never give any credibility to their needs, only to their candidates, you know, positions. So it goes on all the time, this demonizing in society. Just demonize the other person, demonize the other side. That's how we prove we're right. You know, we attack their character. It's an ad hominem argument, fallacious argument. But it's a powerful argument if it's true. Somebody has done something, somebody, you know, is up for some position, but they're actually have serious, you know, character problems, you know. They, real serious ones. So then, you may make an ad hominem argument, but the fact of the matter is that it's true. The person doesn't deserve such and such thing because of their character. But, you know, you have to prove that. You know, it can't be just on your opinion. Why? I can tell by the way they look. Oh? Is that all the evidence you have? They look like this, huh? Now, boy, you're as good as the super soul. You can really tell, you know, what a person's like. Past, present, and future. So, you know, we have to be very careful about all this in Kali Yuga. You know, we have to, as a Brahmin, you know, we have to be able to see things in a good light and want to live on that platform, not get dragged into the passionate mode of nature, you know, whereby we're judging everything according to our desires. See everyone as a spiritual being. Oh, Jesse, when you want to go, Chittiketu brought the van back. It's under the tree, and he said the keys under in one of those drink container holes underneath something, you know. I forget what he said. Okay. So, you know, and isn't that the fact? You even look at our pictures in the Bhagavad Gita, it shows the sage there sitting, and shows all the people and animals and trees, and there you see the super soul inside the core of their heart. And you see, them shining also as a bright spiritual being. And that's the fact of the matter. And what did Lord Chaitanya say? I mean, Lord Chaitanya is teaching the Brahmins how to act. What if someone, instead of making an ad hominem argument, they make an argument based on authority? Well, Yogindra said he's a demon. Well, what if Yogindra's wrong? So it's based on authority. But what if the authority is wrong? Another type of fallacious argument. So, Lord Chaitanya is teaching the Brahmins to be humble. What if they say, Lord Chaitanya won't see the king. The king's a demon. He's a materialist. He's unworthy. He shouldn't even come around us. We have to go take a bath if we see him. And Lord Chaitanya wouldn't see the king. That was his vow. But if we study the history of it, all the devotees were seeing the king. The king was such a great devotee. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the greatest logician of the time, the head of the Jagannath temple, he was seeing the king. The king was pleading to him to help him to see Lord Chaitanya. And he was secretly trying to make arrangements for him to see Lord Chaitanya. And even Lord Chaitanya's closest cohort, Ramananda Rai, was doing the same. Ramananda Rai used to be a servant of the king. He was a governor of one of the king's states. He answered to the king. But now he was Lord Chaitanya's closest associate because he was such a great devotee that Lord Chaitanya took him away, got him to retire. And the king didn't argue, didn't try to keep him in service. He gave him a big pension and blessed him. Because he was blessed to be able to go now with Lord Chaitanya. So, we may appeal to Lord Chaitanya and say, Lord Chaitanya won't even see this rascal. He's got to be a rascal. But the argument's fallacious. Because, we're basing it on one authority without, sufficient research. Sufficient evidence. It's just based on what Lord Chaitanya has done. And we dare to call him, it's like Sringi calling the king a watchdog. Because of one little bitty mistake forced on the king by providence itself. The king became thirsty. Every ordinary man becomes thirsty. It's just that it wasn't expected of Parikshit. He's a powerful guy. It's like, the most powerful quarterback in some league who all of a sudden just comes out and has a bad game. He had a bad game. So Parikshit, he had a bad day. Every day's good for him. He has one bad day. And the kid calls him a dog. Because of one bad day. That's Kali Yuga for you. You have one bad day and people, that's all they remember. Kali Yuga. So do we want to be Kali Yuga people? Or do we want to be like Lord Chaitanya? Humble, tolerant, respectful, proudless. That's how Lord Chaitanya is wanting his disciples to be. That's how Srila Prabhupada wanted us to chant the holy names. If we want to be a Kshatriya, then you have your task cut out for you. It's a tough field. But then you have to be like Parikshit, you have to be like Maharaj Prataparudra. There's all sorts of role models to live up to, like Arjuna. Look at Arjuna's position as a Kshatriya. Somebody has killed his children. And attacked his grandson. And he captures this person. He deserves to die. Krishna says he deserves to die. And his wife says, somehow she forgets it. That's who he was originally trying to satisfy, even more than himself. And now she says, forget it. I don't want to see, his mother cry like I'm crying. They're Brahmins. We can forgive them. And so, what is Arjuna to do? It's a Kshatriya. So anyway, we probably have heard that story. It came before this one. He satisfies both Krishna and Draupadi and Yudhisthira and Bhima both. By simply ostracizing him and taking away a lot of his prowess from an extremely powerful jewel that he was blessed to be born with because of his previous good karma. Arjuna takes that jewel away, insults him by shaving off his nice hair, leaving it all blotched up, and sends him off. He can't live here anymore. A place where he's lived all his life. All his relatives or all of his friends or everybody knows him and he's extremely respected in that place. Just, you have to go. So in that way he punished him. But he didn't kill him. But it was, just like being killed. So, tough job, Kshatriyas have. So they are given, respect because they're protecting us. If there wasn't a police force, do we really think there wouldn't be any crime? People would be ripping us off left and right. It's only because they're afraid of the law. And the person who enforces the law, the police department, the judicial courts. Otherwise, we'd all be getting ripped off constantly. There wouldn't be any control in the matter. People would, have all sorts of groups of organized crime. They'd probably be knocking on our door like insurance salesmen saying, hey, either buy into protection or, there's no telling what could happen around here. And they're the ones who's going to make it happen around here. So either you pay them off or you get ripped off. It happens all the time in so many countries in the world. In America, I'm sure it happens in certain places. They prove these things all the time. I heard an account where there was just one guy in charge of a county, some department in a county. And he drove everyone crazy by the things he was doing. He was doing things so illegal, but yet he was controlling everything. Eventually it got so bad, it was, it ended up in court and the guy ended up in jail. So these things go on all the time. But if there wasn't any court system, if there wasn't any police, where would we be? So, they're protecting our rights. They come here and hear Srimad Bhagavatam, be able to go out and give other people Srimad Bhagavatam. Well, none of us would be here if we didn't have that right. And so we're fortunate in that way. So, any comment or question you need to add to this? Gokula?
I just think I had an experience in Tennessee where, about like what you were just talking about, where they had this speed trap set up. And it's a small town south of Nashville, on your way to Franklin, like down that way. And that was, I can remember the name of the town.
Brentwood?
Huh?
Brentwood?
Yeah, Brentwood. I think, well, it was back before Brentwood. Anyway, so, and I was in one of those like box trucks. So when you go up a hill, it's really hard, to get up your speed. So when you're going down, you want to pick up your speed. And So the policeman would be always at the base of the hill. So I go to the trial. I mean, you can't just pay it, so you have to go to a trial. And the place was packed. I thought, wow, it must be like it's just an unusual. I didn't quite get it, you know. But this guy had a reputation, this judge. And everybody kept going up there, and they had a choice to either go to pay the fine and then go to jail for 2 days, or go to his class, or to a class on driving that cost a little bit more than the fine. And everybody kept saying, no, you had to prove guilty. That's what it was. You say you're guilty, and then you go to the class, and then you have to pay a little bit more. And if you don't, then he just says you're guilty, and you go to jail for 3 days or 2 days. And I'm thinking, well, I'll just, I plead guilty, and I'll just pay the fine. And he goes, and then you'll go to jail for 3 days. I said, no, you don't understand. I am pleading guilty, and I'll pay. And everybody's like watching me. And then I realized, because I keep watching everybody choose the class, and I'm thinking, why are they choosing the class? And so, and I'm a Yankee, So finally, he says, so you want to go to jail? I said, no, I just want to pay the fine. He said, well, if you're going to pay the fine, you're going to jail. So I said, but if you go to the class, you don't have to go to jail. He said, oh, I think I'll go to the class. And everybody in the whole courtroom starts applauding and laughing. That's the inside joke. So you have to go to this class, and he gets the money, not the county. He gives the county a slice of it, and it was his own. It was a big scam.
It's just like Valari right across the border from Kentucky, literally right across the border. He had an accident.
Yeah.
So when he goes to court, the prosecutor says, they ask him for evidence, and he says, yes, we have people that seen him come through here before. He should have known there was a stop sign there. He's been through here before. We have witnesses. There's no witnesses. He's never been through there before.
And there's a lot.
But they made up the lie that there were witnesses and that he had been through there before. His life's at stake, and they lie just to prosecute him. That just happened.
In these small towns, that's the kind of thing that happens. You can get pulled over for almost anything, for no reason at all. If you have cash, then they automatically assume that even if they don't find any kind of contraband, they can seize it in some of these small towns, and they get away with it for a while. So, but the reason why all these people are coming up, apparently from Central America, because there are parts of those, like say maybe Honduras or El Salvador, there are gangs that control each town. I was listening to this documentary once when I was working, and this taxi driver, he crossed over one part of the town, and one guy would come up to him and say, so you're paying me 25% of your salary, of your tips this week. Then he crossed over the next side, and there was like 5 people asking for 25%. How can he make a living? And the police can't do anything. They want a percentage. That's why they're running away.
Kali Yuga. So, and yet, the Brahmin boy curses the king who stops all this from happening, who keeps everything honest, running according to better modes of nature. And, this boy curses such a king. So, good lesson to learn from Srimad Bhagavatam. We don't want to become puffed up like Srimad, but we can, remain humble like Lord Chaitanya. Well, so many other Brahmins, there's so many of them in history.
Just here, of course.
Yeah.
All right, well, so just a couple of comments real quick. One interesting thing in regards to all the migrants coming from Central America. One of the causes of the, stuff like gangs and all of that stuff is the U.S., our government and military have systematically destabilized their governments.
Sure.
And which has allowed these, gangs and stuff to take over. It's a really unfortunate situation, but
Sounds like what happened in Iraq.
got
Got rid of the dictator and just created, constant fighting between the different sections.
Similar stuff in Libya and now Syria and all other places. But in regards to this, I recently found a really cool quote from Srila Prabhupada that I hadn't heard before. I've actually shared this with a couple people, including you, Yogindra. You brought up in class about always getting rid of the king and finding a new king. And so when I read this quote about how relevant it is to modern American politics, because nowadays it's a really hot topic in the news. People are talking about impeachment, you kick Trump out of office and all this stuff. And then the second part of this quote is actually related to the immigration issue, which is also another huge hot topic in America. So it's pretty short, it's just 2 small paragraphs. So this is from an interview with the BTG in 1976. And Prabhupada says, just as in Nixon's case, they pulled him down. They impeached him. They impeached President Nixon. Or rather, he resigned, but they were going to impeach him. Said, but if they replace Nixon with another Nixon, then what is the value? They must know how to replace Nixon with a saintly leader. Because people do not have that training and that culture, they will go on electing one Nixon after another and never become happy. So there's the first part. We understand from that if we impeach Trump and elect somebody else who's on the same level, that's what's the difference. And basically all politicians are. Prabhupada says in another place that politicians in this day and age are pickpockets. They're all pickpockets. Anyway, the next paragraph says, people can be happy. The formula for happiness is there in the Bhagavad Gita. The first thing they must know is that the land belongs to God. Why do Americans claim that the land belongs to them? When the first settlers went to America, they said, this land belongs to God, therefore we have a right to live here. So why are they now not allowing others to settle on that land? What is their philosophy? There are so many overpopulated countries. The American government should let those people go to America and should give them facility to cultivate the land and produce grains. So, kind of interesting.
What I think is interesting is that actually after Nixon decided Ford, because he was the vice president, they elected Jimmy Carter, who they just thought was too moral. They thought he was too pious. The corporations couldn't
deal with
corrupt
the Iranian thing at that time, where they took all
that part
hostages in the embassy.
But then we didn't know that the Republicans were cutting a private deal under the table with the Iranian government. That's why the hostages got released. The corporations were controlling the whole thing. When he says that U.S. government military has been destabilizing, what that means is that our corporations, so-called multinational corporations, there's natural resources in that area that they want to exploit.
Yeah, they utilize the governments for different reasons.
In the name of patriotism.
Kali Yuga.
Hallelujah.
So what do we do? So Krishna, in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, it says, although Krishna has left, now he has come into the Bhagavatam to give light. So we have to take shelter of this wonderful book. This is, what was Lord Chaitanya's life. I mean, he was always hearing and chanting the Bhagavatam, or the Bhagavad Gita. So that's such a wonderful life that we have a very simple life of hearing and chanting the Bhagavatam. If we need to take shelter of a Varna and ashram, it's there. We can utilize that. Otherwise, we can simply hear and chant the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, make our life perfect. Most of us take shelter of some Varna ashram until we get old and invalid, and hopefully by that time, we have some taste for hearing and chanting and can do that without having to go sit in front of the TV and hear and chant whatever comes before our eyes. so it's important, you know, that we develop some taste. Otherwise, that's what happens. You know, you just fall into nature, and by the will of nature, we take our next birth. You know, because of our desire. But if we train ourselves, you know, we purify our desire, we absorb ourselves in the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charanamrita, and instead of all sorts of material things being on our mind, you know, all sorts of spiritual things on our mind, we can leave the world like that. That's what we have to prepare for, just like our devotee who just left on the motorbike. Nobody knows when they're going to go. The devotee that left here had been coming here trying to negotiate a deal to live here. This has been going on for some time. It's been going on for actually a few years. He would come off and on like that. But then one night, just right after leaving the New Orleans temple, a couple of days before, he was there all night long on an Ekadasi chanting. So he had just left the New Orleans temple Sunday feast and was just driving around his motorbike. And he got some other guys, you know, speeding around who had a broken leg, but yet he was still speeding around, and he somehow he couldn't control things, and he just hit him, and that was it. I mean, you never know, you know, when we're going to go. I mean, you know, it can happen to the best of us. Like Tamal Krishna, you know, he was often considered one of Prabhupada's powerful disciples. You know, he tried to be disciplined and follow the program, develop a really serious taste. He loved to hear him chant. I mean, he could read. God, I don't know how much he could read on an Ekadasi. He had a pretty powerful brain. He could read a lot. But he was there one day and gone the next. So at any time, Krishna can take us. You know, so we have to, you know, prepare ourselves. You know, prepare ourselves. And if it's in our destiny to grow old, like Srila Prabhupada did, then we can grow old with Krishna on our mind, like Srila Prabhupada did. And, you know, and actually, you know, enter into Krishna's Leela, rather than entering into the Leela of Kali Yuga. I mean, Kali Yuga is just completely full of constant competition, fighting for as much power and wealth as possible. Just study the history of it. That's what has gone on. I mean, in the United States, I was just looking at a chart yesterday, there's only been 12 years where we wasn't involved in some conflict somewhere. You know, either with Native American Indians, or with Mexico, or with, you know, Spain, or whomever, you know, Britain, whomever it is. You know, we've had our share of conflicts. That doesn't even include all the internal things, you know, between, you know, different political parties and people.
Our worst war was a civil war.
Oh yeah, there's about 100,000 people.
It was awful.
500,000 people killed, not including all the people displaced and, you know, prosperity lost and stuff like that, you know. Gee. So it's history of Kali Yuga, you know, who wants to, you know, and yet we're trained in that, you know, we're trained to be one of those types of people from the time we take our birth, you know. We're trained, in, you know, to be, you know, we're made a, you know, a patriot or a nationalist in whatever country we're born in, and, you know, somehow it becomes synonymous, God and country, synonymous, God and country.
And bullets.
Yeah, you know, and we have to protect ourselves, and so, you know, it's especially in America, we train like, but not only in America, I mean, you know, India has a completely violent history in Kali Yuga of just constant fighting to gain control of everything. Constantly, I mean, you know, only by God's grace was there a government established that controls the whole peninsula. Now there's complete, you know, political fighting to control that. You know, who's going to, you know, which party will control the government?
I heard yesterday, I had to go to the doctors, and this was on NPR, and there was a huge riot in Kerala, and it was based on, this is, the Western culture, so-called culture, is trying to influence the Indian culture. And this was based on, I don't know the name of the temple, but the deity there is of a brahmachari. I don't know, if it's a Vaishnava, but it's very important that they have a strict rule that no woman between 18 and 50 enter the temple. But because of the Western influence of wanting women to have equal rights, 2 women, 40 years old, went into this temple that worships a famous brahmachari. And there was huge riots, burning buses, and just out of control over something, and why, who cares what you go, why was
That's
this
because
issue?
the Supreme Court allowed them to
They allowed
stuck
it,
their nose in that religious business. It's only the Hindu temples that they dare to go in and control. They don't do it to the Christian churches.
Or the Muslims.
Do it to the Muslim mosque or whatever religions they have there. But, Hindu temples, they have to take control of for the wealth. They have to make sure that wealth isn't embezzled or stolen in some way. Then there's a history of government stealing and abuse. Anyway, we had to make the world a better place, and that may mean taking up very difficult jobs. Not just Brahminical jobs, those are for
the feminist
Brahminical people.
movement is so successful in America. That's why we have #MeToo. All the women are being exploited.
Well, they have been exploited. So, it's not like there's
So
no credibility to their argument, Prabhu's got his hand up back here.
How do you make an insane asylum a better place?
Well, they have doctors that actually can give some good medicine. Lord Chaitanya was accused of some sort of insanity. They would call it, a wind disease. And, they would have all these different Ayurvedic treatments for him. But when it was diagnosed by Srimad Thakur said, I would like to have that disease. That you are actually suffering from symptoms of pure love of God. So, in Kali Yuga, that's what we need to suffer from is pure love of God. Instead, people are suffering so much mental illness, even more than physical illness, because of everything that that's propagated in this society, from the things we eat to the way we think. Men can't stop thinking about, their sexuality, and women are just thinking about their sexuality, and it's like just cats and dogs,
And by the way, I think the dog should have the right to eat from the master's plate.
I don't know.
Just ask
Prabhupada keeps
Just ask my wife, she'll tell you.
Yeah, dog lovers. I love dogs, but I can't deal with them inside,